to Do Good Work Podcast, hosted by Terrell Strayhorn and Jaquin Johnson. We specialize in taking a deep dive into issues that truly matter. Each episode unpacks the challenges and opportunities facing today's leaders, from classrooms to boardrooms, offering insights that inspire real change. By redefining success, we're changing lives, empowering people everywhere to create environments where everyone feels a sense of belonging, whether at home, work, or school. So hey, sit back, relax, grab your favorite beverage, and join us as we explore the issues shaping our futures, one meaningful conversation at a time. Let's go!
Hello, and welcome to everyone to another episode of Do Good Work Podcast. I'm your co-host, Terrell Strayhorn, joined in the studio in StreamYard by my co-host and friend, Jaquin Johnson.
Okay,
I know your name. And we are so excited to have all of y'all back with us. You know how we do it. Every single week, we bring you nothing but important matters and issues that are shaping all of the conversations in education, business, industry, and across the globe. So if you have not already, please share the link. If you're tuning in from YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, share the link. Give you a few minutes to get that sent around. Drop it into all of your work chats. Drop it into the Slack team for your work team, and let everybody know it is time. Wake up. And by the way, we're here at a new day, same time, but on Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern, so that we can avoid the conflict with Saturday football. And all those things. So I'm gonna kick it over to Jaquin and start sharing it on our X platforms. Jaquin, how you doing?
Doing well. So we start the show off with a game, using the first letter of your last name to describe your day or week. I would go first because mine is pretty short and quick. I would use J Johnson, so jubilant. I have no real complaints this week or today. And I'm also happy that we are doing the live show on Sunday now, because, listen, the show at 7 o'clock Central Time, 8 o'clock Eastern Time, there's some big games going on, and a lot of times we like to watch the games ourselves. So we chose to move the day to Sunday. But yeah, jubilant for me. What about yourself?
So if you all like the date, drop it into the chat on your favorite platform. Let us know how you feel about the date. If you don't like the date, don't drop it in the chat. Don't tell us just yet. Let us experience Sunday for a few times. Actually, I thought about it and I said, you know what? Mine's going to be short too, because I'm feeling Sunday. The last name is an S, and I'm feeling like today is definitely a Sunday. It's been a busy week, full of all sorts of activities and tasks and reports and data and, all the things that we would do in a week. And then Sunday's that day where you sort of do a mix of relaxation, definitely watch some football today. Some of the teams I care about did well. Some of the teams I care most about did not do well. But also getting ready for Monday. And so tomorrow we get back at it, start the week. And so today I'm feeling like a Sunday. All right. We got Bodacious. All right.
Okay.
Oh, I love it. Keep them coming. Y'all. Drop them in the chat.
Good word.
Bodacious.
Here for it.
It's a GRE word.
Are you drinking coffee at this time of night?
Ooh, I feel like that I just got judged. I'm drinking coffee with no sugar. I'm telling you, not a lick of sugar anywhere in it. Spectacular. All right, we got spectacular. Y'all keep them coming. I see some LinkedIn notifications. So, Jaquin, you have LinkedIn up or no?
I can. Yeah, it's up.
Thinking if you go to probably my page, I need to
Yeah.
go and reshare on these platforms. Y'all, thank y'all for participating. Get some more words. Share them with us. How y'all feel? What's going on in the world? I see this X did not want to share, but that's okay. I've shared it on X, although it didn't automatically go there. It's all good. But I mean, we got a great show for you. Really exciting time. Lots of good stuff going on. And I'm excited. Repost. Okay. Got some more words. If y'all are on LinkedIn or any of the platforms, drop your word. Think of the first letter of your last name. So if your last name is Mitchell, then you just pick a word, starts with M. If your last name is Banana, you pick a word that starts with the B. All right, Jaquin, give me one. If your last name is Carter, pick a
Colin.
word that starts
Oh,
with
yeah.
a C.
See, look at it. See, listen, this is why we're good friends. This is why we're good
You were
friends.
going to say C?
I said Colin. You said Carter.
Look at that. This is why
I
we're
mean,
good
I
friends.
guess you could start K, but it's a C.
All right. Y'all get those words on the chat for us, and it's been a pretty good week. So what game did you watch today?
Well, I tried to watch the Titans versus the Colts, but my niece was here today and she wanted to watch what you call it, Bluey or Paw Patrol.
Oh yeah.
So I only watched 3/4 of it, but it's okay because we lost yet again. So I think we're 0-3, 0-4 now. Listen, I know my team is going to be horrible. We're building a brand new stadium and can't even pack the arena, but it is what it
Listen,
is.
your team can't be anyway. It's a live show, y'all. So that's a real fire truck just decided to interrupt the podcast. Um, I watched the Commanders playing the somebody. Dang, who was that? Anyway, Commanders won. It'll come to me in a second. And then I watched the Texans, and
That was a good game. It was pretty close, right?
the Texans.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a tight game. But, I don't know. I mean, I'm going to always root for the Texans. So CJ Stroud and all y'all got a fan in me. I don't care. I'm holding it down. I'm going to put my shirt on and my, what's that thing called? Jersey on, regardless of the score. I got y'all. Nico, I got you. But I'm trying to tell y'all
Listen, you
killed
have
me.
done really well. You know the team, their names. I know one person on the Titans, that's Cam Ward. It's horrible.
Oh no, I'm serious about the Texans. I know the players, I know some of their numbers, I know the coach, and they're just an exciting team, but they're not doing very well right now. So I'm not going to sit here and go on too long about it. Y'all do better, and I'll be cheering for you regardless. So that was another game, and then I just had like the games on just for sound and noise. All right. So I'm trying to see how to share LinkedIn, but I can't figure that out right now. So if anybody's on LinkedIn, please help us share on LinkedIn because my brain is not pulling that together too quickly. But we're going to go on to our next part, talking about those of us who are looking to enter the workplace, re-enter the workplace, find a new job, get an old job. What kind of things do you want to share with them?
Me, I do good work share the live stream now. Oh yeah, so for mine, I would say that some of the things that I've heard people say is after you do an interview, to write the people that interviewed you via email. You got, what is it, 24 to 48 hours to write them. I also heard someone tell me that to write a handwritten note and mail it. Now, I don't know how true that is, but that's what I've been told.
Really?
Yeah,
Old school.
they are.
Okay, that's different.
How would you feel about that if you got a handwritten note?
No, it would not impress me.
Yeah, okay, I would say. I mean, yeah, people don't
That's
even
no shade. I
respond
mean,
to an email,
first of
so
all, it's highly unlikely to reach me. But you think about it, most organizations and colleges, universities, and businesses are so complex nowadays that by the time you ship it there and it goes to the mail room and it gets to the person and their assistant opens it, this is the day and age we live in. So I think a much more, I do think a short note on email acknowledging that you interviewed, you thank them for their time is fine. It's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask you a question because we're going to go
now.
here.
Let me tell you something about that. Okay, I got a comment.
Okay, go ahead.
I don't know why are we writing emails thanking them for their time. I mean, I guess I get it, but you don't ever get a response. You rarely get a response.
Yeah. Well, I mean, sometimes you do, and I think it's more what it used to be the case that people would say this is one way to help you sort of stand out from the crowd because most people don't do it. So, you think about it, if in a single job, I mean, it's a little hard to estimate now because so many people apply for jobs, but if you have a job out there and you get 80 applications, you narrow it down to 6 candidates. Out of those 6, if one of them writes you a thank you note, and it's not Chat GPT, Chat might help you write it. We should come to this, right? We got some tips at this point about how to Chat GPT proof your stuff. But if you don't, because I think there's also so many people are using artificial intelligence, Chat being one of them, that some of these notes are so artificial and people can tell it's not you. It doesn't sound like you. It's too wordy. It's too long. It's too poetic. There's bold in the middle of it. And then people are like, okay, this is Chat. I mean, took nothing.
Yeah, but we had a conversation about, bolding certain words in letters and emails. And, we also we italicize some things. But again, I'm going to keep doing it because I like doing it.
But no, we should say it. Say it out loud. Say the whole complete sentence. So just so y'all hear what we're saying, we bold, italics, and underscore. I told Dr. Lucas this, our president of Virginia Union. He was like, something I was working with him on something, a group of people in it, and it had bold in it. He was like, this is Chat GPT because it's bold. And I was like, no, sir. I put that bold in there. That is a real bold. But he was like, oh, well, I mean, most people when they see bold, they're going to think it's Chat GPT. Now, I have noticed, I don't think it's just bold, but I do think Chat does use bold in a way that starts to kind of be its signature, signal itself. I think the other thing, I opened something today and those lines that now Chat will use to divide stuff, that was like right in the middle of this document. So I was like, okay, this is clearly Chat.
Now listen, there's a thing though. I have learned some things from Chat. And I like using it, even in my own work, right? If I write it and I want to use that line to break up some of the work, because when it's clean, it's classic. But again, we live in a day and age where if you use those things, people are going to think it's Chat regardless. So
yeah, I mean, and then you have to ask yourself, which is what I think I heard you saying, is like, what's the purpose of this? Is it so back when people started saying like write a personal note or write an email so that you could stand out amongst other applicants as somehow unique or different or really interested in the job. It takes nothing to ask Chat to write a quick note and send it. So I think if you're trying to be more personal, you might want it to feel personal, right? And that's the one thing Chat can't do. AI cannot do it. It can feel personal, but it can't be personal. It can, sort of try to estimate emotion, but it can't have emotions, real emotions. It can't think on its own. So I think that's the part where the human has to then connect with Chat and make it kind of personal way. What do you all think? Put it in the chat. I mean, do y'all think that Chat GPT or AI generated emails are sufficient for, responding to a job interview? If you are supervisor or have supervised, do you find those just as effective as a handwritten note on a Hallmark card with a stamp that's mailed to your office? Put it in the chat. We'll talk about it. So you're talking about letters. All right, that's a good one. Here's what I want to ask is, so since we're on, do I want to go there? No, I don't want to go there. On artificial intelligence. Well, let's just talk about jobs, right? So when people apply for jobs and the job says 5 skills are required, right? Let's just keep it simple. You got to be able to, budget. You got to be able to program something. you must have some supervisory experience. You got, you know what I'm saying? Like, let's keep it at 3 for enough. If you have 2 out of the 3 or 3 out of the 5 skills, how do you advise people to write their application letter? Especially if those 5 or 3 things are required. Like job description says you must have, let's say this, you must have 5 years of work experience and you got 4, or you got 3 and 8 months. Do you advise people to still apply and either admit up front, like, although I don't have the 5 years, I'm still very interested in this job, or, as a close review of my resume will demonstrate that I'm qualified for this job, and then write what makes them qualified and do not acknowledge that they don't actually hit the mark on all that? What's your advice?
That would be my advice. 1, to still apply, and 2, just only speak to the things that you meet. So if you meet 3 of the 5, talk about the 3 and be very clear in how you meet those requirements. And I think too, when people put like they want 5 years of experience or whatever, or a master's degree, I think it's an ideal candidate. But just because you don't have that doesn't mean that you're not qualified for that role. So I do believe that you still should apply, especially if you're interested in it. You believe that you can do the job. You believe that you have the skills to do the work that's required. Go for it. I think that again, if you don't put yourself out there to have an opportunity, then you just miss something that could have been. Oh, I'm screaming because we talked about this the other day. You're a blessing. So yeah, I would advise anyone to apply if they are interested in the role. They believe they meet some of the skills. They don't have to meet all of them. To put their name in the hat.
Yeah. And speak. So if there are 5 and you have 3 of them, write your letter and speak to the 3 of the 5 that you have.
Correct.
So just so I can make my point and see if we're aligned here, not that we have to be, you are not suggesting that people should finesse their applications and make it seem like they have 5, even though they don't really have.
No, don't do that.
Okay. Because interestingly enough, there are different opinions out there about this. And, there are lots of people who will say things like, okay, if there are 5 things, they'll say, hey, I am applying for this job. I'm, wholly qualified, or a review of my resume will demonstrate that I'm the perfect candidate for this job. And I think they miss that when you say those kind of things, what the employer or the committee or whoever, the hiring manager, is going to assume is like you meet all the 5. And then when you say things like, I've had budgeting experience, if you're in some industry, they're expecting to have relevant budgeting experience in that industry. They're not talking about like I budget my personal finances, or when I was 5 years old, I had a lemonade stand and I budgeted the lemonade coins. But I think some people do that, and they're trying to they're so eager to get the job, but they don't realize that what you're saying, which is what I'm saying, is, rarely will companies find a great person who's a good fit, who meets all 20 qualifications. They're much more likely to find somebody they really like, who seems like a good addition to the team, who meets, 85, 90% of the qualifications. So you can be honest in there in that. And I mean, we were just talking about this the other day, and we should talk about it. And that's where we can transition into the second half on this one, right? Remember, we were asking, what do we talk about? Remember this, how to structure your workday, right? So, and you said yesterday, so much of what we do at work, we learn on the job. And employers know that. Like, you might have budgeted for Nabisco, looking at some cookies in my mind, but you don't know how to budget for a Starbucks coffee shop. You might have budgeted for a newspaper stand, but you don't know how to budget for an entire school district, and neither would you have to. Maybe you've had some experience. You understand budgets, you understand the importance of balanced budgets and finances, but you've never done it in that context. You don't have to make it up. You don't have to rush to LinkedIn and grab a quick 4 or 5 certificates to put on your application. I think people understand you learn a lot on the job. Learn a lot on the job.
You do learn a lot on the job. I think that when we had this conversation, we were talking about how do you when we first started, how did you structure your work day? And I know for me, I lost a lot of time doing things that really they needed to get done, but it wasn't a top priority. And then it was until I had some colleagues of mine tell me like, hey, you probably should be doing X, Y, and Z around this time. And then, structure your, when you meet schools and reaching out to high school counselors around, around this time, because this is when they're most available based on their, some of their schedules. So again, those are the things you learn while there. When I became a leader, there are some things that I've learned about how to lead a team. I didn't. Yes, I could read a textbook, and there are some good practices out there, but that's a textbook. You can, once you go into and talk to real humans who have different personalities and different motivations, it's a lot different. So I know that there are some times where I had to reach out to a mentor or some friends of mine and say like, hey, here's a situation. What do you think is best to go about it? And I learned from them. Again, that's learning on the job. So I do believe that, again, if you don't have all the things that they're asking for, that is okay. I remember hiring folks who, I think it was like you had to have a master's degree. They only had a bachelor's degree, but they were the perfect fit for the team. And that's why I wanted on the team, because I was like, these are some of the things that they don't have, I could teach.
Literally.
And if I believe in my skills and me as a leader, then those things can be taken care of. But what they do have, like such as like energy and attitude and the will to learn, and I can't teach that, and if I try to teach it, it's going to take forever. So yeah, that would be my 2 cents.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I mentioned to you yesterday, like if I'm going back, I remember when I first started, one of my first kind of real professional jobs, we should share these, right? I would count it as I was a research associate at the Council of Graduate Schools in Washington, D.C. And I worked in the higher education center right there on the corner of 1 DuPont Circle in Washington, D.C. I remember I got out of my master's program. I was so excited to have this like professional job where I would like put on a dress shirt and some pants and go to work and, drive in and park my car. And it was a big building and there's so many associations there. And I will never forget when I got into my office, like, they gave me a computer and they gave me a phone. I thought that was cool to have my own phone and have business cards. And so I would sit there twirling around in my desk, first couple of days. And then I do what everybody does. I get to my desk and I check my email and I, think about my email and I file my email and I delete my email and then put it back and delete it again, like play with my email. And then I check my phone and set up my voicemail. And then I look at the clock and say, oh, it's 12 o'clock. I go to lunch for an hour, come on back, check my email again, make sure I had nobody knew me. So of course no one had called me, but check my voicemail again, go to the bathroom, talk to a colleague. In other words, really, I didn't know how to structure a workday. No one during onboarding said, hey, you're supposed to be working 40 hours a week, Monday through Friday. And here's a recommended schedule for how you might run your Mondays, your Tuesdays, your Wednesdays, and the like. You know what I'm saying? And so you kind of had to figure that out really on the job. And the reason why we were talking about it to the audience is because one of the organizations that I'm affiliated with is observing that some of their staff, especially those who are, new to the workforce, just don't know how to do this. And people are like, oh my gosh, why don't they know how to do it? And at first, my thought was, well, we probably didn't know how to do it either when we first got started. And if we're honest with ourselves, we probably wasted a lot of time trying to, figure stuff out that, quite frankly, nowadays, especially with the aid of AI, we don't have the guess at. As managers, let's say you're supervising a team of, well, we're going to go here in a bit, recruiters, right? Couldn't you say, all right, I want my team of recruiters to, be communicating with people on campus, some of the faculty. I want them to be thinking about recruitment campaigns. I want them to, be studying their territories, reach out to their school representatives and contacts, follow up with their particular students they're assigned in the communications software, that Slate or whatever system. Give yourself 8 or 9 things you want them to do. And then if you can do it yourself, great. If not, then say, hey, look, I supervise a team of 6 people writing into some AI tool. They've got 40 hours a week to work 5 days a week. Here are the 9 kind of primary activities that I want them engaged in, plus lunch and a break. Give me a recommended work week schedule for them, just a shell outline that I can sit down and talk with them about. You get that, and then you offer it to your team and say, hey, look, just to get you started, here's how you do this. And over the course, as they, sort of mature and grow in their role, of course, they start to customize it a bit. But at least getting started, they know what to do.
I think that's a perfect strategy. I know for me that would have been really helpful when I first started with recruiting, and I'll share kind of my story when I started at a university in Kentucky, brand new, high motor, really eager to recruit new students to the institution, kind of get to know some of them and what they want to do. Now I remember I started in July maybe, and the application usually opens. Well, for us at the time, it opened in August, and they submit their application, they submit their transcripts, and then from there they're either accepted or denied, and then they have to pay their enrollment deposit. Again, this is in August, Terrell. Okay, and this is my first year recruiting, and a student applied, they submitted their transcripts, they met the GPA requirement, they were accepted. My foolish self said in front of everyone, you know what, I'm going to get a deposit today. And they were so kind, but they looked at me like, if you get a deposit today, you're a legend, because that is so unheard of. No one's paying a deposit in August. But again, I didn't know. I thought that, this is the next step. So that's what you just talk about,
Right.
and get a deposit. But again, like once I've learned what to do and how to structure my day and how to communicate with students, it's not about selling. It's really about being authentic and figuring out, see, folks just be loud for no reason. It's really just figuring out what they want to do, what are their major concerns, kind of figuring out a communication plan with them as it's naturally unfolding to meet their needs. Also bringing in their adult, because they too want to be involved. Because again, they're influencers. Or how do you communicate with their high school counselor, or is it their baseball coach? Who are the key players that you need to be connected with, and how you're going to connect with them. I didn't know any of that when I got there. It took me months to kind of figure that out. And now, like you said, once I figured out what is important and what I need to be focused on, I could offer that to the next recruiter. But there are recruiters that come in and you could just tell they're confused. They don't know what to do. They just know that they're supposed to recruit. They're supposed to reach out to students and go to some schools and recruit there. But again, it's like in the summer, that's really when you're building out your travel plan and you're looking at data to figure out where were some of the hot spots from the years before, where are some of the places you believe and your team believes that you can get more students and grow in that area, and how are you going to map that out into your travel plan. So all these things are, if I receive a piece of paper like that saying like, here are some things you should be doing, here's like your day kind of laid out hour by hour, that would have been extremely helpful.
Right. And then think about what you can do as a supervisor, like after their first 30 days, you sit down and say, hey, now let's sit down and talk about like, how has your plan changed? What have you added? What would be helpful for you to add to it now? You could even bring your team together and have them like share, what did you add on yours? What did you add on yours? Look at what's different. How much time are you spending talking to your reps in the school? I mean, it's just can be very enriching, especially in terms of team formation, professional identity formation for your staff. And then I think probably personally fulfilling to the leader. So anyway, for those of you who are out there thinking about getting into the job force, thinking about applying for that job, before we change over to our next segment, listen, go ahead, do it, apply, submit the application, complete the online assessment, reach out and ask. If you are thinking about, I don't know, we don't talk a lot about this, we'll put it in another episode, but like There are certificates and badges, many of them available through LinkedIn, quite a few of them without cost, that will help you, sort of upskill and uptool to get ready for your future. But if you got questions, if you have hesitations, I think that phrase, what is it? The only job that you are likely to never get is the one.
Each episode unpacks the challenges and opportunities facing today's leader.
Well, that wasn't supposed to be playing. There we go. But you can go ahead and apply. The only job you won't get is the one you don't apply for. So let's get ready to turn over to our next topic.
Let's do it up. And this music is absolutely beautiful. So we've been hearing about the enrollment cliff for quite some time, and it is upon us. 2025. The enrollment cliff is a term that talks about the decline in birth rates that kind of happened after the 2008 Great Recession. So we're seeing fewer high school graduates enroll into college, and because of that, they project that there will be a gradual decline in students coming from high school straight into college. But we have seen a lot of institutions are claiming that they have actually increased enrollment, and they are not affected by this term called enrollment cliff. Most recently, we saw something on LinkedIn that I shared with you. A vice president of enrollment talked about how, the previous year they had some pretty good numbers in terms of enrollment. He came in pretty late as the VP, and he told the board that, hey, listen, this year is more about just kind of being sustainable, making sure that we don't slip too far, but we also don't expect us to grow enrollment. Now it'll be the next year where we grow enrollment. Well, he was pleased to share with his colleagues and network on LinkedIn that he put a great team together. He put a great plan together. His team listened to his training, listened to his guidance, and actually grew enrollment. And I shared it with you via text. I screenshotted it, shared it with you to ask you, let's talk about it. We didn't have a chance to, because we always yapping about everything else. But again, with that, I'll toss it over to you to get because you brought something right before the show, and then let's roll with that, and I'll tap in with what I saw from the post.
Yeah, I think this enrollment cliff. We've had this conversation a couple times. It's this notion that, and look, enrollment is important. There are enrollment-driven institutions really at the K-12 and the higher ed level. I mean, if you have ever run an academy, if you have ever started a charter school, if you have ever worked in a public school that, was in a district where your funding was based on how many students you have a motivation, you have a sort of push to optimize your enrollments. As you know, one of the members of our team, Tanita, once worked for a school where, it was a brand new academy. They had to grow their enrollment, and they're competing with all sorts of other schools in the district. So enrollment matters. Students don't just fall into schools. I mean, sometimes they do if it's a public school and they're zoned to that school, but with so many different options available today, and as you said, parents, adults, caregivers want the best for their student, many times they will consider all of these other options. And not to mention, increasingly, friends, people are homeschooling their kids. And so with all of these options available, if you want students in your school or your college, you're going to have to go out and get them. You're going to have to communicate, compel, convince them that your school is exactly where they belong. And that can, be done through a whole range of activities, making sure you understand who they are, what they're trying to do, helping them understand that what they're trying to do and become is available through your school and your curriculum, that you offer the kinds of courses and majors and minors, and you got the kind of faculty who want to work with them. And your residence hall is much better than the residence hall down the street or out of state. You want to be here. Your student clubs and organizations are exactly the kinds of clubs they want to join. So there's all of this, That's why Jaquin mentioned selling, but there's all of this communication and marketing and persuading of the student and their families, communities, that this is where the student belongs and that the cost of attendance in college matches, if not is worth the experience they're going to get. All right. So most experts suggest that the reason, and by the way, enrollment across most colleges and universities is declining on average. And so most people have enrollment goals that they're not meeting: 2-year, 4-year, highly selective, less selective, predominantly white, historically black. All of those colleges are kind of in this mix. And then there are these experts who have predicted that because we're just not having kids at the same rate as a nation, so declining birth rates. By the way, too, not everybody wants to go to college, because it's not just college and high school. When students graduate from high school, now they're faced with, should I go work? Should I go to college? Should I go abroad? Should I go to the military? Should I be TikTok famous? Should I, take a gap year? Should I, jump in a little canoe and swim across the whole world for 365 days? I mean, there are all sorts of cool things that students are doing that are just wildly different from what was possible before. And for that reason, that second reason why we have this enrollment cliff is people aren't choosing to go to college at the same rate they used to. One, because they have many, many other options available to them. And then unfortunately, this is the critique on higher education as a system. Far too many students know people who went to college who aren't happy, who aren't employed, who aren't satisfied in their job, who aren't living their best life. And so then their question is, does college really matter? Hey, y'all in the audience, drop it in the chat. Y'all think college matters? Do you think college is still worth it? You think it's still a viable option? Tell us what you think. We'll put it.
And you will not offend us. Trust me.
But this enrollment cliff happens because of those declining birth rates, declining interest, and therefore what they suggest is we're going to hit a point. Now I'm tagging Jaquin because he's the expert in that space. But there's a point in our future where they believe, we're going to hit a cliff. And our enrollments might be increasing now, but will plateau. And at some point, will just drop. And it'll be particularly hard for those of us that work at, study at, live at enrollment-driven institutions.
Yeah, I mean, they said that it will be around 2025, and here we are. I think that, again, now you are right. There are a lot of institutions out there who are struggling with, not meeting their enrollment goals. I think, in 2024, we saw a lot of institutions closing their doors or merging. And it's because of, they had issues with enrollment and they couldn't, fill the seats in classes in the beds. So again, but, and this is mostly really impacting those small private institutions, the, HBCUs, MSIs, schools up north, because a lot of students don't want to live in the cold. They're kind of migrating down south to experience all seasons. But again, I think that, like you said, a lot of students now, they have options. It's people are not just pitching to them, you have to go to college to make a living, right? You can go right into the workforce and make $20 an hour. And that money is good when you don't have any children or you don't have a lot of debt. Why go to debt and then come out and listen? I've had students tell me, why would I go to school? Why would I go to school and accumulate $40,000 debt and then walk out making 30,000, depending on what I want to do? And that's a conversation you have to have, and you have to be real with them, be honest. Like, okay, just think about, like, over the course of your life, studies have shown that you will make more with a degree versus people who do not. So again, these are conversations that we must have as recruiters, as institutions. But also, I think what you're saying, you said while you were talking about painting the picture where they belong at that campus. Now, let's be very clear. When you're communicating that, whether it's verbally or in marketing, or in brochures or on social media or in your communications via text or email, it's not just simply using the word "you belong here," right? Draw it out. Show. Don't just tell them, right? How how do I belong? What do you offer on your campus? What do you provide? What support is there that signals that I belong, right? Again, belonging is a feeling, so they have to feel it. You can't just tell them. I think that's where we have to do a better job in higher ed is really showing the student how they are supported on our campuses, how they will succeed and thrive. We use these terms all the time, but I don't know if the students are if they believe it wholeheartedly.
Well, you think about it. What does it mean to feel like you belong, especially in an authentic kind of way? And so let's do this. I mean, I'm thinking back to, okay, so when I was going to college, I remember I had narrowed it down. I mean, I'm from Virginia, so I had never thought about going to the University of Idaho. I had never thought about Iowa State. I'd never even heard about Iowa State. These are really wonderful institutions. Indiana, University of Maryland, College Park, University of Michigan. Maybe if I were like watching football with my dad, I saw it, but it didn't hit me as like, that's a place I could go. The places that I heard about and remember thinking these are places I could go were places like Virginia Tech, University of Virginia, Old Dominion University, Norfolk State, Virginia-based universities. Maybe I thought about a couple like Duke. I remember that somehow entering my consciousness because I had some high school friends who went to Duke. But I mean, it was a very small. There are 4,300 colleges and universities in this country. I knew about maybe possibly 20 of them when I was graduating from high school. So I'm saying that to say my choice set was not all 4,000 schools. It was like this small nucleus of schools from which I had visited William and Mary, great school, top ranked, university. It was the College of William and Mary. Now it's called William and Mary University. But it was very close to home, and I knew I wanted to expand my wings and get out into the world. So although I visited that campus, I wasn't terribly interested in going there. It was up in my top 5, but not the top, right? I went to, I don't know, some other places, but when I went to the University of Virginia, and I will never forget it, just like coming down Emmett Street, which is one of those streets right before the university. And it was like, okay, I'm in Charlottesville and I'm in the car and I'm like, okay, this is the place. But right as we kind of peeled over this hill and I saw the campus and I saw the buildings and I saw Old Cabell Hall where music is housed, the Department of Music, where I ultimately get one of my degrees. I knew I belonged. Like I started feeling it like this. It felt academic. It felt serious. It felt good. I wanted it so bad. I mean, I knew this is where I wanted to be. And as I started going around campus and meeting people, seeing people who were like me, seeing people who were not like me, buildings where I might go and I might have studied, meeting my financial aid advisor who was very, very close to my mom and dad, Miss Marilyn DeBerry. Like all of this just helped me feel like I belong. I'll button up on this. Miss DeBerry, who is still, out my Facebook friend to this day. I remember when we started thinking about like, this is where I wanted to go, it costs to go to college. And my mom and dad were trying to think through the finances. And Miss DeBerry took time to sit down with us and talk about, aid packages and what I could do and how we could make this work. And I didn't have the words for it then, but like the time that Miss DeBerry and others took to help me and my parents put together a plan to make that education option real for me signaled to me, I matter. I've got to matter, because why else would she stay here? I mean, we would shut her down sometime in her office, being there all day. I know I certainly would. It's like, so when people make time for you, when people customize their advising or their financial aid advice to your situation. My mom was working. My dad was working. My mom was a nurse or is a nurse. My dad was a car salesman, I think, at the time. And she understood their finances from the FAFSA and could like anchor our financial reality into my dream. Again, I was whatever age you are when you first go to college. But now that I think about it, somebody says, well, Do you feel like you belonged at UVA? The answer is yes. What were some of those moments where you felt like you belonged? A lot of them had to do with those kind of moments with Miss DeBerry, moments with Ron Brown, moments with Mike Mallory, moments in the Office of African American Studies, moments with the gospel choir. I think so. People often ask us, oh my gosh, y'all talking about belonging. Okay, so what do I got to do? Because we can have a pep rally next Friday. You've never heard me say pep rally. Pep rallies are good to celebrate your membership in the campus community, but rarely do they sort of do what's necessary to convince a person who's from Virginia Beach, who's almost 3 hours away from home, that I made the right decision to be here. I matter amongst these people, right? I'm sure they gave me T-shirts and stickers, and I'm sure I wore them. But it's rarely the T-shirt and the sticker alone that does it. That's what I would add.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, I think my experience was a little bit different than yours because I was getting recruited for track and cross country. And although, when I'm in middle school and early of my career in high school, it was really the MTSU's, Ball State Community College, and others, but primarily MTSU and Austin P, because that's where my parents went, and we used to go there all the time for homecoming. So I had my mindset on Austin P, although there were other institutions recruiting me for sports. And because of my time, I knew that I was only going to go D1, nowhere else. And my parents did not allow me to just shut out these other schools. And I'm thankful that, at the time I was upset. I was like, I don't really care what they have to say. But it was really good that they made me do that and continue to communicate with them, because when I went to these institutions that were your D1, had D1 sports, my experience didn't meet my expectations. Right, you're just another runner who runs fast, but you may not be the top on their recruiting board, and you feel that they'll let you know without letting you know that you're not the top. But when I went to Tusculum, it was a drastically different experience. The coach met me outside, asked me how I was doing, how was the drive. I met with the student who was an ambassador, took me on a tour. Absolutely phenomenal. I know Jaleesa knew I think I shared this story once on the podcast, but Jaleesa knew everyone on campus. The tour was supposed to be an hour long. I think it took an hour and 45 minutes because she stopped, or people were stopping her to talk to her. But every time she introduced me to them, and told them a little bit about my background based on what she knew about me. After that, I met with the team. The entire team took time out of their busy day. I know they had a afternoon run that day, but they decided to do their run in the morning. So when I came on campus, they had time to meet with me and take me, around campus. But again, I remember leaving the campus, again, still denying that I do not want to go to Tusculum. It's not this. No one knows about Tusculum. It's a small institution. It's not my dream school. It's not D1. It's D2. So no. But again, I remember laying in bed every single night. My heart kept saying, "Go to Tusculum," because of the experience that I had there. And ultimately, I just broke down and be like, let me just call the coach, let him know that I'm coming there. But it was the best decision of my life for sure, because of the experience. Once I got on campus, absolutely amazing. I met this person named Kima Talley, who we're great friends today. She was a very, very, very good support system for me when I was there.
Yeah. I mean, I think about the fact that if I go through my Facebook, so many of the people who I'm connected to this day, classmates, people who were ahead of me at UVA. I mean, I was a musician in the gospel choir. I was a musician at the local church. I was a choir director. I mean, so many adults who attended the church are still significant members of my network, my village, my life to this day. So to any students out there who are thinking about going to college and wondering, is this the right time and is this the right place? Here's the other thing. You made me think about this. So when I was coming out of high school, I was recruited by a number of schools. I remember one thing that, this is something parents and adults have to think about. I got several full ride offers from school. And one of the ones that I was someone connected to me, me and my family with, was to go to Norfolk State, one of the nation's historically Black colleges, and it would have been a full ride. I was not interested at the time in going to Norfolk State. Now that would have been like 15 minutes from my parents' house. Not that I didn't want to be close to my parents, just like I just thought going away to college, you get to like go somewhere and like grow up and spread your wings, whatever that means. But I think about it sometimes like, what if I had said yes, one, and gone, and all of my undergrad education was paid for, and there would have been no bill, no costs, no loans, no grants, no nothing, right? But my parents are really wonderful. They supported my dreams of going to UVA, even though we had other options that I was not as interested in at the time. No shade to any of those schools. I just wasn't interested in them at the time, but they would have been full rides. And so to any of the adults and families and communities that are out there working with, students, or even adults who are thinking about going back to school after years of being away from it, sometimes we're both agreeing on the same point. I made the right decision to go to UVA. I have no doubt about it. That was exactly where I needed to be. I don't know what would have happened had I chose someplace else. But I did have other options that looked enticing, but sometimes you got to follow your heart and your head and really build the plans and connect with people who can make that possible. Look, we got somebody who put something that you told them to be honest with you. So she says, I don't know if it's a she. Avocado Toast says, maybe not for everyone. The pace of college may not fit the upcoming generation's attention span and pacing. Is there a chance that 4 years is too much of a commitment given the state of the world? What are your thoughts? And do you know who Avocado Toast is?
I do not, but I do like the name, and I like avocado toast.
Got me excited and hungry.
Right. Do I have an opinion? Of course, I have an opinion. Again, like you said earlier in your first sentence, like college may not be for everyone. Can you put it up there again? Sorry. Yeah, college may not be for everyone, and that's okay. I think that maybe not be a commitment. Is there a chance that there's too much of a commitment? College is a commitment, but I think everything is a commitment. Whether you go right into the job, work, a job, or whether you want to be an entrepreneur, maybe you want to do TikTok or social media, it's going to take time. It's going to take commitment. It's going to take learning. I do believe that college gives you an opportunity to explore and develop and figure out what you want to do. And, maybe you can go in not knowing what you want to major and kind of dabble into different courses to figure out, maybe you can, there are some institutions that allow you to create your own program based on what you enjoy. So I think that, again, college it is a commitment. But I do believe that if you figure out how to manage your time well, you have an opportunity to hang out with friends, join clubs and organizations, get into intramural sports, go to the basketball, football games, go to the events on campus that student affairs are hosting. Like, these are all these things that you can do on campus to really shape your experience. I think that today's students, we don't promote college like we used to. I remember growing up where you get good grades in school, especially when I got to high school. My parents always said that this is the time where it counts the most. Like, if our financial situation, and if you want to go to school, you have to have the grades to get aid, get scholarships from the institution, get outside scholarships. I think we have to talk about that to our students, because there are some students out there who don't have parents like mine who can share with them, like, grades are important. Community service is important. Getting into some clubs and organizations while you're in high school. Let's think about this. I'm not going to be narrow focused. There are some students who cannot do it. They have to go straight to work right after school, because they may have to help pay bills, or may have to pay their own phone bill, whatever the case may be. But based on their situation, it's like what you said earlier when we were talking about the job. How can you kind of talk about yourself and build this essay that shows the institution that you are capable, that you are willing, that you are committed, that you are interested in, and you can be um, successful at that institution if given a chance, right? Because there are some people. Okay, yeah. Let's be clear. There are some folks we know on colleges, campuses who are in rooms who look at resumes and says, "Oh no, they went to that school down the street, and that school, their students are not good. Decline them." Right? Or, oh, they're not homeschooled. They're not a good student. Oh, they
Mhm.
they weren't part of SGA, so why would we give them that scholarship? Right? So I think these are the things that we have to really think about when we talk to our students, um, in terms of how to really build their application, to be unique, but to be authentic and real, and show the readers that you are someone who is hungry and want a better future. And we, as I think even colleges, not colleges, but stuff like that. I think recruiters and higher ed professionals need to partner a lot more with K-12 professionals to help students understand, what does it take to be a college student? What is a college student? What do you need to know? Because there's questions about financial aid. I mean, when I was 17, 18 years old, you think I could go into an office and ask questions about financial aid? No. I didn't even know that $40,000 tuition was a lot, right? I thought it's just a cost. Okay, I know college cost. I didn't really understand. Listen, my parents are both educated. They went to college. Let me tell you something. I didn't do a darn thing for scholarships. My parents did all that for me, right? Because they've had that experience. They had my brother go through before me. So my dad and my mom learned kind of the system. So when it got to me, they were like, okay, these are things we didn't do with Trey, but we're gonna do with you. These are things we didn't do with you two, but we're gonna do with my sister. So they learned over time. And I think that for some students who may not have that, those people in their lives who can help them, we have to be there and let them know, like, okay, the scholarship deadline for this institution is December 15th, but this other school doesn't have a scholarship deadline, so you don't really have to worry about that. You have to have a 3.5 GPA and a 24 ACT to get into this, to get this scholarship, the highest scholarship here. Or, only at this institution, you have to have a, 3.5 and a 21 ACT, right? All these things play a part. Um, Let me just button up here. We have to communicate those things to students.
Yeah.
Hopefully
I
I
mean,
answered that question.
I think that college is, well, one, we just have to acknowledge that college is a serious undertaking. For many students, especially traditionally aged, and I would even stretch it to like, you know, um, most people, it is the longest goal they will ever have to pursue, especially when we're talking about the undergraduate degree. Dare I say, a graduate degree, and certainly the doctoral degree, because that can be, depending on the program and the discipline, quite long. But think about it. When you're 18 to 20 years old and under, when have you ever had to pursue something that would take you 4 years to achieve it? You start in first grade. All you got to do is hang on, and in a year you're going to be in second grade, and hang on again, in a year you're going to be in third grade. And rarely, do some work too, but I'm saying, like, usually you're talking about year increments. We even break some of those things down into like fall and spring, so you can feel like some advancement from semester to semester or term to term. But in college, it's 4 years. You just got to come back after the first year, come back after the second year, come back at, you still not holding anything in your hand. So by the way, some colleges and universities that are really trying to raise their retention and their success rates, they start offering students some intermediate goals, some intermediate certificates, badges, credentials, involvement kinds of transcripts, so that they get to collect some stuff along the way to make it feel like a shorter journey, or a journey of several kind of movements. I think that's really important. That gets to the heart of what Avocado Toast is talking about, and that is people's attention spans don't go for 4 years. You got to break that up somehow, and help them celebrate some of those incremental moments. And sometimes it's not giving them something. It's like, there are a lot of colleges that are called Complete College America, has these 15 to finish. And some institutions will give their incoming students, like, their first year students, a t-shirt that says, I just completed my first 30 hours of college or something like that at the end of their first year. And then you get a mug or something that says I'm 60 out of 120, 50% done. It's like, so you're helping celebrate in some sort of tradition movement through this journey. I think that's really important for helping students feel like they're making some headway through this thing called college. Here's the other thing that I also hear from Avocado's comment that may resonate with others in the audience, and that is, certainly we can all agree that college likely makes a difference for anyone who pursues it. But some people will go for the 2-year degree. Some people will go for the 4-year degree. Some people will go for the 2-year, then the 4-year. Some people will go for a certificate and a badge only. Some people will go for, a certificate, get a job, work 10 years, and then come back and see the need for it. I know certainly in my family, I've got cousins and who didn't go straight from high school into college. They might have taken time to get into the military or whatever might have been their choice, but then they ultimately went off to college. I think appreciating that everyone's journey is not the same. And certainly we know about this, and you know about it in your line of work, that increasingly the journey is not seamless. So students might enroll, stop out, pause out, transfer out, start at another school, circle back to the original school. I mean, all sorts of movement happens in this journey that I think is really important for understanding that this is not for the faint at heart. It's for people who, especially the 4-year degree I'm talking, it's for people who really want to be, who are invested in it. And then certainly not going into too much detail, but like I have examples right now in my own life that are helping me realize, like, if you're going to pursue a degree, you're going to have to want it, because it is so easy to just say to yourself, I don't want this. I don't have to do this. I do not have to do this assignment. I do not have to take this abuse. I do not have to take this exam. But you got to have a goal in mind. And, I went back to get my master's in psychology after my doctorate, but I had a very clear goal in mind. I wanted to teach in psychology. I wanted the grad degree to enhance my belonging work. If I had not had that in mind, I know for a fact I would not have completed that degree. It's like I did it while working, and I'm paying money to go to school. It's not giving me any money back yet. It's like I'm paying and studying and burning the midnight oil and getting up early because I believe this degree is going to matter someday. But I don't see any evidence in my hand. It's just all in my head. And I think sometimes that's hard to make that commitment, especially when you got bills to pay, you got priorities, you've got a job where you've got to deliver. I think we just have to give grace to students to understand that staying in college is a courageous act. It is a decided kind of decision to say, you know what, I'm going to get up, I'm going to stay, I'm going to get my assignments done, because there are so many competing priorities that would make that very difficult. I'll give you the final say.
I think that, professors have to understand the students that they are teaching. We understand that these students, the new generation is different from previous ones. And the curriculum or the content that we're teaching has to be relevant, has to be current, has to be fun and exciting and engaging. Not just giving them task after task after task, discussion posts and readings that no one cares about, because again, these things are just defeating. I think the students today, I've heard it, like, it just seems like busy work. All I'm doing is busy work when I can just go out and get a job and make some money now. Why would I sit here for a year or 4 years and do a lot of work that just seems like tasks just to complete, and I don't feel like I'm learning. So I do believe that professors have to really look at the content that they're teaching, figuring out how to make it relate to the students that are in their class, to build excitement, to want to go to class every single day, to want to sit down and do their homework. Because I remember there were days when I was in college where I was like, I don't know why I would go to the library today to do my homework, because I don't care about the class.
and it's not like instructors make these things so relevant, especially not in today's time. But to those of you who are out there, you're in school, listen, stay in school, do your assignments, study hard, hang in there. We're in September, you're coasting, you're doing well. To all of our first year students, claps for you. You are doing well. You are making it through your first year of college, whether that's undergrad, master's, doctoral, so many reasons to celebrate. And to each and every one of you, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Do Good Work Podcast. I had an idea that I'm going to talk to you about sometime this week for our next episode. But listen, hopefully you are able to draw from our tonight's conversation some important insights that will enrich your life, your work, and what you're doing with yourself or those who you love and those who you work with. We want you to tune in next Sunday, same time, for the next episode of Do Good Work. We're going to have some special guests. Surprise, surprise. We're going to have some special guests with us. So y'all come back and see who those folks are around the table with us. But as we leave from this place, but never from too much, just remember this, that as you go out into the week, and that's starting tomorrow. Can you believe it? You got to go to work, got to go to work, got to go to work. Don't be afraid to do something. Say hello, greet your neighbor, speak to that person at work that you don't like to speak to. Let it go from whatever happened on Friday. Let it go when you move into the office next week. Don't be afraid to do something. Check your email, set up a schedule, go grab lunch in the middle of the day, do a big stretch, go in early or sign in late. Whatever you need to do, don't be afraid to do something, but do something good. Listen, I was on the plane the other day. I think I shared the story, and a guy put his bag up at the top of the plane, and this woman turned very quickly and said, "Turn your bag around, put the wheels out." And the guy was like, who are you talking to? And she's like, "You can't have your bag like that. Turn it around. You're taking up too much space." And the guy said, "Do you work for whatever the airline was?" She said no, and then he cussed her out. The world is hurting. People are being mean. Don't be afraid to do something good. Be kind to people, forgive people, look past people's frustrations, give somebody a hug. If you go to a coffee shop, pay for the person behind you, pay it forward. Send, a handwritten note to somebody who you've interviewed for, or to someone you haven't talked to. Don't be afraid to do something, but do something good. And y'all know what we call it. We call it Do Good Work. Until next time, peace.
Thank you for tuning in to Do Good Work Podcast. We hope you found today's conversation informative, uplifting, and insightful. Don't forget to like and share this episode with your networks. Follow us on social media at Do Good Work on X, formerly Twitter, for real-time updates, behind-the-scenes content, and so much more. Until next time, friends, don't be afraid to do something, but do something good. Do good work. Thank you for tuning